Welcome to Assay TV. I'm Leo Stemp and I'm here at the One-to-One Mining Investment Conference in Cape Town. Today I'm with Harry Anagnostaras-Adams, who is the Executive Chairman of Kefi Minerals. Kefi is an AIM-listed company focused on exploration and development in the Arabian Nubian Shield. Harry, good to see you here today.
Good to be here.
First of all, you're working on two main projects, one in Ethiopia, one in Saudi Arabia. The Tulu Kapi project in Ethiopia, you've recently started building there.
Yeah, some of the construction has started on the off-site works, and on-site we've been talking to the locals about their moving plans and things like that. So yeah, some of the work has started.
So what have you got there?
Well, we've got what I'd call a fairly standard West Australian style open pit CIL style project, which will be complemented by an underground mine on the deposit as it continues deeper. Average 140,000 ounces a year, so at today's gold price about $250 million a year revenue. Will make it the country Ethiopia's largest single export generator, so it's very important for the country, which has got a currency crisis.
And what are your resources and reserves there?
Got a 1 million ounce reserve out of 1.6 million ounce resource, and down underground we haven't got reserves on it yet. We haven't done all the work on it, but it'll be a mine, and we're not sure how big it is because it's open and we haven't drilled to the bottom of it yet, but the last drill hole was 90 meters at 3 grams, so it's a big system.
Wow. And plans for further drilling to explore at depth?
Yeah, absolutely. We're right in the middle of a closing program, so we more correctly, closing the financing of this whole development has started with the injection of cash by the government sector partner for all the off-site works, and the private sector partners coming up next shortly, and over the next 6 months we'll lead up to the full closing of the debt package as well, which will probably follow just after the election in Ethiopia.
When does that take place?
Well, officially it's still sitting at May, but the Electoral Commission has recommended it be postponed till August because it's a pretty important watershed election, and country is sort of on the front foot through major changes, and I suspect it will change the date of the election. So anyway, be that as it may, over the next 6 months or so, we're going through this sort of cascade of closings, and during that period we will start running around in the field on the exploration as well. We have a district to explore, 1,000 square kilometres that we've got there. And once construction commences, we'll put our longer term planning team onto the underground, and we'll start working that up, and drilling will start probably in a year or 18 months to sort of extend it a bit, but then not too far later we'll want to get down there amongst it and drill from underground.
So we should expect lots of news flow over the next few months?
Yeah, I think really the next few months, the next few years, we're bringing Tulu Kapi on, but not just a construction job to start production of the country's largest export generator and first major mine development for 40 years, but also the exploration game. We've got a pipeline of projects and targets, underground, district, and so on.
So you have good local support?
Yeah.
Tell us about some of your JV partners there.
Yeah, well, Kefi, it's good point to emphasise is that Kefi, as what was floated as a junior explorer, a company I founded with my Amex card. We should make an ad out of that, shouldn't we? But the capital markets would not have supported what we have done over the last 8 years, generally speaking. The junior sector has been really weak. As a sector, it went down over 90% since 2011 peak, and Kefi has suffered the consequences of that as well as a stock. Having said that, we deliberately went out to build strong local partnerships. So we have a 60% partner in Saudi who has put in a lot of money and contributes pari passu to what we operate. and we have brought in $58 million of partner capital in Ethiopia, locals. So we've localized our business into, we're not Kefi in Ethiopia, we're the Tulu Kapi gold mining company.
Fantastic. So you must have a lot of political support as well.
Absolutely. You know, if we have a problem, I can go to the top of the system at the drop of a hat. If it's serious, I can go to the mayor if that's the appropriate place. The point being that we're important. We've earned our relationship trust, you know, just by being tenacious and dogged about getting this show on the road. You know, a lot of people gave up on Ethiopia with states of emergency in past years and bureaucracy that I think they taught the Indians how to be bureaucratic, the Ethiopians. So, you know, it takes a lot of pushing and patience. And we've done that and built our relationships. And I'm quite convinced that Tulu Kapi will open doors way beyond the opportunity just at Tulu Kapi, just by virtue of having done the right thing. We have strong community support. I would say the only thing they would criticize anybody about for this project, they reckon politicians and financiers are too much talk and not enough action. They can't wait for it to get on with it. So,
and you're an early entrant into that area.
We're the first mine development in 40 years.
Fantastic.
So we're the first mover.
And similar in Saudi Arabia, you know, you're a reasonably early entrant into that area, and you're looking at is it the Hawiyah?
Yeah, Hawiyah.
Project?
Yeah. What happened there is that about 11 years ago, a powerful business group owned by a family in Saudi approached us and invited us to be the technical guys to run it. We said we don't just do that. We need to have a stake in it, an equity partnership, and so we accepted that we would be the minority partner, but nothing happens unless we propose it. So we're the 40% proposer, and they're the 60% approver. And that's a good relationship. And we're probably the only people who've been at it continuously for that decade, other than the government people who we don't really regard as competitors. We think we're a little bit more fleet of foot on the ground. And we've got a gold discovery we made, which is under application for a mining license. And just in the last few months, we've hit something pretty important, what's called a VMS system, mainly copper system. It's a pretty serious hit. It's clearly going to be more valuable than Tulu Kapi.
How many holes have you drilled in that to date? Or?
40, about 40.
And plans for more in 2020?
Yeah, what we did is that around October, I think, last year, we started a scout drilling program, the first 2,500 meters, just to, pop it to see whether indeed we hit what we thought we should hit. And that worked. You know, we've hit it. We've got something that is real and economically, significant, and could be a lot bigger. And so we immediately rolled on to a drill out. We're now into resource drill out because it's a near vertical plank. Blind Freddy can't lose it sort of thing. And so far we've tracked it over 4 kilometres with the drilling.
How are you funding that?
Well, the partner puts up 60% and we put up 40%. No. And we have the right to dilute if we don't want to keep up, but we're going to hammer it and keep going because we think it'll turn into a mine quite quickly and it could be something a hell of a lot bigger than we already see.
And local support in Saudi, obviously you've got this 60% partner, and the government on board as well? Yeah,
well, I think it would be fair to say that we wouldn't feel so at ease in Saudi without that partner.
Sure.
But it's also fair to say that the new leadership in Saudi Arabia is apart from some bad press over some things that have happened, in Saudi, the new generation, the 30 and 40-year-old leaders of society and business are very proud that the country is being sort of yanked into the 21st century on all sorts of fronts. I go there every quarter and you can see it changing before your eyes. And so the government is really serious about this mining sector getting going and becoming their third pillar of the economy, and downstream as well as upstream. And I think, you know, we may be lucky here. You know, we've been working against a headwind for a long time. It's been an exercise in doggedness, and all of a sudden the commodity, gold price in particular, has turned. These countries have turned, and our projects are ready to roll. You know, so we're at a turning point on all three fronts at the same time. So,
and the VMS project involves copper as well, which obviously people are
it's
relatively bullish about at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's almost turned to a green metal, hasn't it? Everyone's talking about it for electrification and so on. But yeah, I mean, copper's got a great story. It's an industrial metal. Gold is money, in my view, not really a commodity. But copper is a real base commodity for the whole renewable sector in terms of energy generation and electric cars and you name it. And if the world could afford copper sinks in hospitals, we'd all have copper sinks instead of stainless steel, because it's much safer than the alternative for antibacterial qualities.
Sure. And in terms of your management team, board's experience at building mines, can you tell us a little bit about your team's track record?
Well, I think the reaction I typically get from people who look at the board or the senior management team, they sort of ask the question, how the hell did you get him to work with you? What they mean by that is not so much the people thing with me, they're getting the fact that this is a tiny company in a tiny market for London's a tiny market for mining stocks. And very senior leaders of the industry are on our board and on our senior management structure. You got a non-exec who used to be the CEO of Goldfields.
Right.
You got a non-exec who used to be the co-head of mining finance for Africa's largest mining bank, Nedbank. You got another one who was the ambassador to the African Union in Ethiopia for the Great Britain. You got a guy on the senior management team who was the CEO of Billiton, and so on. There are others, and so, you know, what are they doing there? Well, it's not just because we're friends. You don't do those jobs just because you're a mate. They're doing it because they can see the opportunity of the Arabian Nubian Shield, the platform that we've constructed with partners, contractors, first-class contractors, and our banks. So we've got a first-class platform and a first-class opportunity. So,
and you mentioned a tiny markup, but how does that compare with your, you know, anticipated NPV on the project? Do you have any?
Well, just on Tulu Kapi, the one that's got a bankable study on it, the current market cap, I think, is a seventh of the NPV of our interest. So it'll re-rate itself as we go through all these closings, no doubt. And then, of course, we've got, I think the Hawiah project is worth more to us.
What are the key catalysts that people should be looking for in 2020?
Closings and hits.
Closings and hits.
Closings and hits.
And those will just continued news flow throughout the year?
It'll just happen.
Fantastic. And you're listed on AIM. Your stock code is?
Kefi, K-E-F-I.
Kefi, that's very easy to remember. Yeah. And where can people go to find out more information about Kefi Minerals?
I think the websites should have pretty well the latest research reports. And
you're on social media and things like that?
Yeah, the chat lines are full of it. I think, if I'm not wrong, the stock turnover over the last few months has been quite big. Maybe, I don't know, over 100% of the stock turned over. Probably only 10 or 20% of the stock turning over many times, but nevertheless, you know, volume always precedes price in any market, and that's been happening.
And your key shareholders are?
The management, contractors, management. Between us, we'd have 15-odd%.
Right, skin in the game.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for talking to us today, and good luck for the year ahead. Look forward to lots of news.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.